Hello again, my name is Rosie Flugel. I'm glad that you're here to join me today as I discuss Google Classroom and its Classwork page. More specifically, today I'll discuss how to add materials and assignments to the Classwork page. The Classwork page is basically where you will want to post assignments and class resources. You wouldn't want to post your classroom resources in the stream page that we discussed earlier, because on that page the posts are chronological, and eventually your resource would get pushed down to the very bottom, and if it's a resource that you intend for your students to use over and over again, it would make it very cumbersome for them to have to search for that particular resource. So classwork is where you'd want to post materials. And you can find Classwork tab up at the top under Classwork. And you can see I do have mine organized in topics. And in another video, I'll cover how to best organize your classroom or Classwork page. But when you're on the Classwork page, you will see the Create button. And when you click on that, you can create assignments, quiz assignments, questions, materials. You can create a topic to organize any of those items. And you'll notice that I have something extra here called Cami Assignment that is not part of Google Classroom but works with Google Classroom, and it is not, you can add it, but it's not part of Google Classroom. I just want to throw that out there so you're not confused if it looks a little bit different than yours. All right, so to create, I just want to start with adding a material or resource to my classroom. So I'm going to tap on that. There we go. Let's say you want to add a syllabus, and you'd want to use your materials for your class would be stuff like syllabus, classroom expectations, maybe a math conversion chart, or maybe a grading rubric, classroom expectations, maybe a list of websites. It could be any number of things, but it's a classroom resource for your students, and you can organize it into a section just for, called classroom materials, resources, whatever you want to call it. But it's something that you expect your students to use on several occasions, right? So I want to add my resource. And again, just like in the stream page, you can add a Google Drive document. You can link out to a website. You can upload a file from the device you're using, and you can add a YouTube link, right? So my syllabus happens to be in my Google Drive, so I'm gonna just tap on that. And here's a syllabus that I want to add. You don't have to add a description, but you can. And on the right-hand side, notice that if you teach multiple sections of the same class, you may want to go in there and select each class that would use that same syllabus. And then you can select all students or go in there and check off which students that you want to send that to. In this case, I want everyone to have it in this particular class. It's a good practice to organize every post that you make into a topic. This would be a classroom material. Now, I've already created these topics. If you don't have any topics and you want to go in there, create a topic and call, in my case, I called it classroom materials. You can call it classroom resources, whatever it is. But I do highly recommend that you do start organizing it because very quickly all your posts will get overwhelming for students, and it's easier for them to find what they need when you've created these topics. In the long run, it'll look better. So once that's done, you can post it immediately, or if you see the down arrow, you can schedule it for a future post, a post in the future, or you can come back and work on it if you save it as a draft. Okay, so let me go ahead and post that immediately. All right, now that I've posted my resource to classroom materials, you should see it right here. And actually, everything that's posted under each topic that I have listed here is automatically posted in chronological order. However, if you click, hold, and drag, oops, didn't mean to do that, click, hold, and drag, you can rearrange the order of your items under each topic. So if you do need to do a little moving around, you can do that just by click, holding, and dragging. Something like classroom materials that I'm showing you here, it only has 2 resources, so it's not that big of a deal. But once your assignments get really long and you do need to move something back to the top to revisit, you can again reorder that just by clicking and dragging. All right, so that was how to add classroom materials. I do want to cover how to create assignment. So Google Classroom's most powerful feature, I believe, is being able to create an assignment. And when you create an assignment, I do want to demo 2 different ways to add an assignment and share them with students, because what we don't see as teachers in the background, Google's working behind the scenes to take out all the tedious work, right? It is in the background making copies for students when necessary. It's naming files for students. It's setting up the proper sharing rights, and even organizing your classroom folder in your drive and in their drive as well. So there's a lot of work that is taking place behind the scenes that we as teachers might be taking for granted, but that's what makes creating an assignment so powerful in Google Classroom. So let me demonstrate. Again, you go to the create button. I'm going to tap on assignment, and in this case we're going to do a biography assignment on Abraham Lincoln. Let me just go Abraham Lincoln bio, and then let me see, add some instructions here. Okay, I'm going to have students read the biography, and then I have a Google Doc that I've already created that I want each student to have to create their report from. Okay, so if you want to send a student out or students out to a particular website, remember, as long as you have that link, you can add that in that box that has add right here and go to link. So I do want to add a link out to a website. Here it is. It's from the White House. But as I mentioned earlier, I have a Google Doc that I want to add. And that also, that's located in my drive. I've already created that. And here it comes. Here it is. It's just a simple template that I've started for them. And this is, if you look to the right of this document, this Google Doc, by default it says students can view this file. And that's all they would be able to do if I leave it there. They can only read this file. But this is in fact just a plain template that helps students get started with their bio. So I want them to actually use it, write on it, to type their info and submit to me. So I want to make sure I select to make a copy for each student. If this assignment was more collaborative and maybe they were working in a group or as a whole class, I would select students can edit that one file. So everyone would have access to the one file and they could all make changes. But in this case, I want them to have their own copy, and then I want them to submit that to me. So I want to make sure that Google does the work behind the scenes to make a copy for each student. It will have their name on it, and there we go. So when you do make assignments using any of the Google Docs, make sure that you're selecting the right, right or privilege that you want them to have on that particular document. So again, make a copy for each student in this case. Then on the right hand side, you can select which classes to assign it to. You can also select which students you want this to go to. This is great for differentiating. So if you have maybe the same assignment but maybe slightly different, and you want one group to work on one president and maybe another group working on something else, you could do that by selecting the students that you want this particular assignment to go out to. You can customize the number of points, or you can leave it ungraded. Select a due date. Alrighty. And then again, I highly recommend you use topics. You don't have to, but I do recommend it. And I do have a section just for assignments. And then if you have a rubric that goes with that particular assignment, by all means, add that here. Alrighty. I notice you do have a option here to check for plagiarism. So you can turn that on or off. That's up to you. Then you can assign it immediately, or like before, you can schedule or save it as a draft. All right. So let me assign that, and let me do another assignment, create another assignment, but for a collaborative, more of a collaborative assignment. All right. So I'm going to go back to create an assignment. This time, I'm going to call this one mandatory masks. Oops. And, you know, since we're dealing with the current pandemic, this I think is very appropriate for our time. So they're going to work with groups, determine reasons for or against the government mandating people wear masks. So I'm sure this would spark a lot of online discussion and classroom discussion if you're in class. But in this case, this is also a Google Drive document that I have, and here it is right here. It's actually a Google slide. In this case, since they're going to work on this one slide together, I want to make sure that the students can access this file and also edit. Okay? So they're all going to be able to access this one document, and they're all going to be able to give me yes reasons, and they're all going to be able to give me no reasons. So you can do this in as a whole class group, or smaller, maybe 4 or 5 members in a group. That might work best. That's up to you. But this would allow them to work as a collaborative group by changing the access to students can edit the file. Now, I didn't mention before, but you'll notice a create button right up here. So if you don't have your document already created and in Google Drive, you can create it on the fly right here. So you can create a Google Doc, Google Slides, Sheets, Drawings, or Forms right within this dialog box here for creating an assignment. And then again, it's the same features over here on the right. Make sure you fill in everything, and you can post it immediately. There we go. It just takes a few seconds. And again, when you go to assignments, you're going to see that your items will appear here. Now that last one, I don't think I picked a topic, so there it is right here. So if that happens, I can go into edit. Make sure you have a topic. I'm going to add that to assignments. You can always go back and change you can make edits to your assignments. And there you go. That's how to create assignments in Google Classroom and how to add materials. In a future video, I will discuss some best practices in how you might want to organize your classwork page.